These two high rollers are the best survival experts I've ever met, mimicking the hominids who lived in the wilderness 2.4 million years ago. Basically, you want to experience what it was like for primitive people in that period. They learned to use fire, enter the Stone Age, make various weapons for successful hunting, then migration and a series of imitation survival. We ended up with a delicious salmon roast. These two high men didn't just show us about 18 stories of survival. It gives us a section of human ancestors thousands of generations. Little Pig turned into a history lesson for Paige. Only Noah Jane fell in love with the reproduction process of a chong. They set their starting point on the African savanna. Habilis, one of the earliest human species, was born here. This history dates back as long as 2.4 million years. Habilis lives in this area. They're only 6 feet tall, but he jumped up. But it's 6 feet tall. Survival experts Bill and Carter are about to set out to survive in the savanna. They don't have modern tools. Be unarmed. There's no fire. They will be challenged with the same evolutionary milestones. Opening day. 2 high men walking on the prairie. I'm sure they don't even know what they're doing. That's not what I said. They said so themselves. The grassland is big and green, but you can't see where the water is. Just keep going anyway. On the road, they saw a herd of wildebeest. No weapon in one's hand. Any animal could slap them to death. They found an animal path in the grass. Animal trails are paths that animals often walk. There's a good chance you'll find water if you follow the trail. 2 high people just follow the trail. They came across a herd of buffalo. The buffalo will pry the muscles. They had to take a detour, but soon they met wild elephants. I do see it. These guys are taking us to the zoo. They came to wander about in the woods. It looks like an orchard. In fact, there are many thorns in the branches. After leaving the woods, go straight along the path. I saw the tall baobab trees in the distance. This kind of tree is native to Africa. It's about 4 or 5 stories high. Early humans were particularly good at climbing trees. Their arms are thick and curved. The grip is very strong. They also wanted to climb trees like early humans. Hours of climbing and no one standing tall. Careful Bill found some details. There are many scratches on the tree. It's used by the local Hadza people to climb trees using sticks stuck in holes. The Hadza are natives of this area. They earned their living by hunting. On the hunt, they climbed trees to watch their prey. They would stick branches into the trees to make ladders. Bill wanted to climb trees like them. It's still a few hours before dark. The wilds of Africa are terrifying. They want to spend the night in a tree. The 2 men were searching for nails in the jungle. The toughness of this branch is very high. Hanging up a high is not a problem. Bill searched the ground for sharp stones. People used stones to cut things in the early primitive times. Bill found a flat stone. Maybe it could be used as a knife. Bill is cutting the tree with a small stone. Soon you have a whole branch. Carter, on the other hand, was collecting dry sticks. She wants to make a nest-like enclosure in the tree. Sleep at night to keep yourself safe. Gather some dried bark as well. This can be used to make mattresses. These high people have a good idea. Bill polished the branch with a stone. It takes so much work to make a small wooden nail, but with it, you can easily climb a breadfruit tree 4 or 5 stories high. Carter collected the soft bark. With all this stuff that looks like cotton, I'll be able to sleep well tonight. The sun is going down now. They began to climb bread trees using wooden nails. Push the nails into the breadfruit tree. As more and more nails are driven in, creating a primitive tree climbing ladder. 2 men took turns driving a peg into the tree. They've wasted 2 hours just climbing the tree. The sky grew dark. The wolves began to howl. Hiding in trees is their best option to avoid predators. They also climbed the breadfruit tree at last. There's a lot of space in the trees. Stand high enough to see far away. They are going to make their bed on a flat spot to sleep. There was a constant barking of hounds nearby. They packed up the collected branches and carried them to the top of the tree. It's a full moon tonight. 2 people hurry up and make the bed tonight. With bad luck, there's a good chance we'll meet African zombies tonight. They made the bed and lay there to rest. This is really primitive. Opening day 2. I haven't had any water all day yesterday. Bill's lips began to crack. But I remember last night. He was so scared his face was blue and his lips were white because they didn't encounter any zombies last night. But I saw Lim Young passing by. Get up in the morning. They plan to search for water today. Carter hasn't had any water all day. Bill started getting dizzy and cramping. This is an early sign of dehydration in the human body. A long time ago, Africa used to be heavily wooded. But with the land dry, water is scarce. Early humans had to go in search of water. Carter now faces the same difficulty. She dug and dug and dug on the wet ground. I've dug a hole and there's no water in sight. It took a lot out of her. Carter decided to give up on this foolishness. Bill is also looking for water. See cracks in the ground. It means there's been no water here for a long time. Then he found a grass on the ground. The grass is edible, but it's poisonous when eaten raw. It must be cooked over a fire before it can be eaten. It is difficult to find water in this dry area. Water is not necessarily stored as a liquid. It can also be stored in plants. Carter thought she would look for plants or roots that were watery. Soon she found a vine. Dig along the roots of the vine. And Bill has found something new. He saw a bee fly into a hole in the tree, which means there's probably a hive inside. But he can't just reach in with his hand. The best thing to do now is to split the wood with a knife. But Bill didn't have a knife. If it was early humans, they will look for a tool to replace the knife. That's a stone tool. Early humans used stone percussion to get sharp stone tools. Bill now uses the same method to get stone tools. After striking the stone will get a sharp edge. You must not underestimate this stone. This stone is the father of all tools. With it, we'll have honey tonight. Carter's been digging around here. She has seen the root path, but digging like this is really tiring. If I could get a kindergarten teacher, there's not enough dirt for them to dig. Bill hit the hole in the tree with a rock. The tools these two high men use are primitive, but it was the most effective tool they could find. No serious illness on my mind. I don't want to be a slave here in Africa. Luckily, Bill had seen that there was honey in it. Carl also dug up a large root. The roots are really tender and juicy. They performed physical labor while hungry and thirsty. This will accelerate their symptoms of dehydration. I love that angle. Carter lay on the ground tired. She kept pulling hard. Finally, I can't help it. I can't help it. Go away and let me do the same. After replenishing his strength, Carter tugged at the roots of the plant, lying on the floor and enjoying the juice. I can't stop talking. Totally forgot about the other high guy dying of thirst. Good thing she dug up a few more. Bill's been throwing rocks at trees. For a bite of honey, tons of energy wasted. For a few hours. Finally got the hive. A sweet bite replenishes all the energy. It's just a bite of food. But that's what they're having for dinner tonight. Bill wrapped it in leaves and took it back to the shelter. They gathered together. Carter shared the roots she found. Bill ate with gusto. The roots and honey were harvested today. A hard day's work has finally paid off. The breadfruit has given them shelter. But the surrounding resources are scarce. They have to leave here to find more possibilities. This is one of the important reasons for early human migration. They return to the prairie, follow the trail, surrounded by danger. They don't dare go too fast. Suddenly, I saw a lion lying in front of me. The two high men froze in shock. But 2.4 million years ago, early humans shared the savanna with saber-toothed tigers. A saber-toothed tiger is stronger than a lion. If this is a saber-toothed tiger, well, then those two high people would have burped by now. They just stared at the lion. The lion never saw such a shameless man. Then I had to leave with a piece of shit. They once again set out on a journey to find water. Saw elephant droppings on the ground. They are convinced that they are on the right track. Then they found a puddle of water. Dig a hole in the side. It's filtered to produce clean water. The water smells of sulfur. It is very dangerous to drink raw water in the wild. They were debating whether to drink the water or not. It's the cleanest water they can find. There's no choice but to drink it. Looks like they're really thirsty. While drinking water, they thought they didn't have a container. Can't take the water away. So they need to make some containers to hold the water. Food and weapons are what they need most now. They found a termite nest. These ants are very large. One at a time. You'd have to eat about a ton to be full. Carter has eaten the mask of pain. Apparently, this stuff doesn't taste like beef. They ate everything they could find anyway. Their bodies are pushing them to their limits. When they were hungry, they pulled up grass and ate it. These two high rollers survive in Africa with their bare hands, walking all over Africa in a pair of tire slippers. They climbed to the top of the big rock to rest. The black feet look very real. Time came to the 6th day. Bill kept the stone in his hand. They saw a gnawed antelope in the jungle. Make sure there are no lions around. They want to pick up the lion's leftover food. Although there's still a huge shell left. There was enough meat left for them to fill up. They just pick up the raw meat and eat it. Blood can quench thirst, even though the meat was covered with flies. But they couldn't care less. Filling their bellies is the first thing they do. They cut off a thigh with a stone. Take all the food you can eat. This bone will feed them for days. The bones can be used to make soup. Meat can be grilled. They must do it before the lion returns. Gather the food they want. Bones contain a lot of bone marrow. They want to take the barrel bone with them. They got the food and ran away from the scene. It's all flat around here. They decided to climb the tree and enjoy the feast. It does look a lot like early human habits. They dig the marrow out of the bones and eat it. Bone marrow contains a lot of fat and calories. They finally had their first meal after 6 days of starvation. Early humans had no hunting ability. Their only source of food is scavenging. But the fatty acids in the bone marrow provide them with nutrients. It's great for their brain development. Today's meal will fill them up. Bill felt very satisfied. On a full stomach. When they were wandering around, I saw a big baobab tree, but they couldn't get up there. Carter found a big hole under the tree. Maybe they can spend the night in there. This hole in the tree is perfect for them. As they walked into this hole in the tree, I was surprised to find out what everyone in the world had said to the tree hole. I'm a damn charm that they found nowhere to put it. Actually, I've been out of the picture for years. I've been doing an anonymous wilderness survival commentary, but the moment these two high men entered the tree hole, at this moment, I'm going to explode. They think they're safest in a hollow tree, so I decided to spend the night in there. But they still need to plug the hole to sleep well at night. Time is running out for them. There are so many thorns here. It can be used as a fence for tree holes. They cut thorns with stones. In the process of cutting down, the thorns scratch their hands, but it just proves that these branches can be their shelter. It's really hard to cut down trees with stones. They're still in the Stone Age, after all, so only stones can be used. They collected a large number of thorns. After entering the hole, surround the hole with thorns. Early humans were very vulnerable without fire and weapons, so you have to find some natural shelter to protect yourself. The space in the tree hole is very large, even if they're safe tonight, but I couldn't sleep at all. It smelled of bat droppings and rotting wood. The time came to the 7th day. Carter's hand was hurt by a thorn, and there have been some infections. Let's just pray we don't have to amputate. Today they are once again on their way to find water. The days in Africa are very hot. Their state also gradually weakened. In front of me was a big mountain. They have no power to get up there. The detour takes a lot of energy. The climb is also physically taxing. To shorten the distance, they decided to climb the mountain anyway. Fortunately, these rocky mountains are easier to climb. The whole process is like rock climbing. Bill was seduced by Carter's underpants. It takes a lot of power. It was up to Katra to get up there. On the mountain, they could see the sea in the distance. Next, they decided to set out in the direction of the sea. The next two high people are gonna have those same problems. Look forward to the next video update.